I watched them all the time. I think I watched Indiana State and Iowa, Caitlin Clark play about the same last year. So I watched a lot of basketball.
Like, can we get Caitlin Clark a little protection?
Anyone who treats this young woman unfairly because of what she has contributed to the game ought to be suspended and heavily fined. What happens if one of the greatest basketball players ever witnesses the WNBA's most promising young athlete being chosen out through dubious means? You'll find out because Larry Bird's vehement remarks over Alyssa Thomas's behavior against Clark, Caitlin, have completely shocked the basketball community. Let me ask you a question first, though. Have you ever witnessed an elite athlete being picked out? The way Caitlin Clark has behaved throughout her career. Because Larry Bird's perspective on the WNBA has completely changed. And as a result of what he saw during that Phoenix Mercury game. Alyssa Thomas considers Bird's to be particularly heartbreaking in this regard. Caitlin Clark is currently in the exact same position as Larry Bird. In the 1980s, Bird was the best player in a league full of amazing athletes who attempted to physically threaten him because they were unable to compete. His extraordinary basketball acumen. Bird did point out this crucial discrepancy, though. Alyssa Thomas is located here. Reputation becomes a fascinating topic. Bird recognizes the distinction between championship-caliber basketball, like he saw in the mob scene, and what he is witnessing with Clark. He declared, "It's the most cowardly act I've seen on a basketball court in decades." You heard correctly. Observe how she suddenly thrust her knee into Caitlin Clark's groin. On that play, isn't that right? This is very disgusting, right there. When Bird saw the video of Alyssa Thomas pushing Clark from behind while she was coping, his reaction was quick and brutal. Few people had a better understanding of what pure competitive fire looked like when they were prodded in the history of Iden basketball. Like as this man, who fought well-known enforcers like Dennis Rodman and Bill Lemire. However, even he could understand that Alyssa Thomas's actions transcended both sportsmanship and competitive integrity. However, listen to Bird's comments on the timing of that shove. At this moment, Thomas is completely devastated by Alyssa's knowledge. Before continuing, please like and subscribe to The Waterway if you haven't already. Now let's return to the narrative. The NBA player addressed an issue that a lot of fans had been considering. But no one with his extraordinary reputation had the courage to say so. Playing championship-level defense and making obscene remarks about a man while he's fully naked and not looking are two very different things. Bird stressed that the majority of people thought his time was the most physically demanding in NBA history. When you disagreed with someone, you didn't hesitate to confront them head-on like a warrior, waiting for their back to turn before acting like a predator. And that's exactly what infuriated Bird the most about Alyssa Thomas's despicable actions. However, Bird's criticism has now completely ruined Alyssa Thomas's reputation. The experienced Celtics player was greatly enraged by Alyssa Thomas's pitiful response following the event. Instead of apologizing or conceding that she might have overreached herself, Alyssa Thomas feigned that. Fans and the media were brutally criticizing her. She said, "Damned if I do, damned if I don't." However, hearing such words made Bird even more enraged. Bird, the champions and legends of the game, believes that truly excellent competitors always bear full responsibility for their conduct, particularly when those activities could put another player at grave jeopardy. He claimed that seeing Alyssa Thomas play the victim and evade criticism made him think of athletes who secretly knew they were incapable of competing at the top level. They discovered other dubious tactics to influence the game as a result. In other words, Bird effectively referred to Alyssa Thomas as a mediocre player who uses immoral methods because she lacks actual basketball talents. Potential. This is where Bird's study truly shines and uncovers an intriguing element of Caitlin Clark. Bird believes that Clark possesses the same special traits that made him one of the best basketball players in history. Her extraordinary basketball IQ, her inexplicable clutch shooting skills, and, above all, her magical ability to significantly improve everyone around her. However, as a fan of basketball, in terms of ethics, he also notices something that truly worries him. This exceptionally gifted young athlete must always be on the alert for cheap shots and dirty tricks rather than concentrating only on realizing her limitless basketball potential. Bird claims that Alyssa Thomas's strategy embodies all that is wrong with certain players' decision to play Clark rather than challenging themselves to match her extraordinary talent level or surpass her on the court by being committed and well prepared. It is a disturbing pattern that she is viciously attacked when she is most vulnerable. Bird claims that this kind of behavior is the worst kind of basketball competition that sprang to mind. As a result, Bird's controversial remarks sent the entire basketball world into a frenzy. But Bird likened Clark's situation to his own encounters with physical harassment at work life. However, he didn't hesitate to draw attention to something that elevates and clearly contextualizes Clark's circumstances. He noted that, at just 22 years old, Clark is dealing with significantly more hardship than the majority of athletes during their careers. And she's doing it while bearing the burden of being women's basketball's undisputed face. But Bird's comment regarding Alyssa Thomas's future in the league is currently going viral on social media, and you have to hear it to believe it. According to Bird, the WNBA encourages the idea that ordinary athletes can resort to unethical methods in order to stay relevant if it permits women like Alyssa Thomas to chase superstars without facing repercussions. He says that instead of honing their actual basketball skills, this sets a risky precedent that can deter the guys who are raising the bar for the league. Bird also claimed that young players who watch at home are duped by the league's inability to appropriately penalize these guys' activities. He feels that viewing the WNBA should teach kids about skill, effort, and sportsmanship instead than strategies to go after weak opponents. However, despite these difficulties, Bird's forecast regarding Clark's future was arguably the most potent aspect of his whole remark. He claimed that Clark was shaped by hardship and that every cheap shot, dirty play, and attempt to intimidate her just strengthened her will to demonstrate her dominance via pure basketball brilliance. Bird likened Clark's predicament to his own rookie season, when rival players physically challenged him to see if he could withstand the strain. He pointed out that Clark is dealing with this behavior in addition to the demands of becoming the most marketable player in WNBA history and the unheard-of media attention. Bird is defending basketball, not just a gifted athlete, therefore his backing of Clark is essential. Intrinsic honesty, he claims that Caitlin Elizabeth Clark possesses all the qualities that make basketball special, such as talent, class, competitiveness, and vision. In athletes like Alyssa Thomas, he also sees everything that can endanger the sport. The WNBA is clearly at a turning point, according to the basketball veteran. They have two options. They either protect and promote their best players, allowing individuals like Clark to realize their full potential and improve the league as a whole, or they continue to allow inferior players to use dishonest tactics in order to remain relevant. The decision made will determine the league's future, but the question that has everyone talking is this. Will the WNBA take Larry Bird's concerns about safeguarding Caitlin Clark seriously, or will they keep allowing players like Alyssa Thomas to use dubious tactics to damage the league's reputation? Let's carry on the discussion in the comments section below. How do you feel about Larry Bird's harsh assessment of Alyssa Thomas's actions? Is he being overly critical, in your opinion, or are his critiques legitimate? More significantly, do you think the WNBA will eventually take action to safeguard its biggest star? Kindly provide your thoughts in the space provided for comments below. I read each and every one of them. Make sure you activate the hashtag notification and click the subscribe button. If you'd like to see more analysis like this that cuts through the noise and tells you what's truly happening, click the bell. Larry Bird's hostile comments may eventually change Caitlin Clark's situation in the WNBA. As this narrative continues to unfold, the basketball community is keeping a watch on this issue. One thing is becoming more difficult to ignore. One game and one hard foul are no longer the exclusive topics of discussion. The future of women's basketball, the standards the league desires and must uphold, and how its best players are treated when the spotlight is shining brightest are all potentially problematic. Few athletes have ever faced the kind of expectations that Caitlin Clark had when she entered the WNBA. Millions watch every game she plays. Every action she does is examined from every angle. Every success is celebrated, and every setback garners media attention. Being one of the top names in basketball today means that, at the same time, veterans from all throughout the league are still competing at the highest level, bringing years of experience, perseverance, and pride to every fight. The WNBA wants to ensure that fierce competition never devolves into unnecessary or dangerous play. Fans want real basketball, rivalries, and energy, but they also want stability, fairness, and respect. Since Larry Bird is someone who knows what it's like to perform under pressure, his remarks have sparked intense discussion. Throughout his remarkable career, Bird faced some of the most aggressive opponents and defenses in basketball history. However, His message went beyond just being tough. It was about preserving the integrity of the game and making sure that basketball skill, not controversy, continues to be the main focus. There's no denying that Bird's remarks are generating conversation, regardless of whether you completely concur with him or think the problem has been exaggerated. What should happen when the league's greatest players become the primary focus of physical play is still up for dispute among fans, commentators, former players, and media personalities. DO authorities must be stricter. Should the league impose harsher sanctions? Or is this simply a normal part of being a professional basketball player? Everybody appears to have a different response, but Caitlin Clark's is indisputable. Instead of allowing controversy, physical defense, or criticism to define her career, she has continued to focus on basketball. She keeps showing up and competing, proving why so many believe she represents the sport's future. One of the main reasons her followers still stand by her is her tenacity. The WNBA is going through a period of unparalleled attention. More people are learning about women's basketball for the first time, areas are filling up, TV ratings are rising, and social media conversations are growing every day. These kinds of incidents affect the league's perception around the world, not just one player or team. Every game will become much more significant as the season progresses. Every game Caitlin Clark participates in will be closely watched. Every controversial play will be analyzed. Every performance will be advantageous, and every official judgment will be contested. Discover the story of one of the WNBA's most talked about seasons. Therefore, the most crucial question at the moment. Didio, you believe that Larry Bird's remarks accurately capture the state of the NBA. What is the WNBA doing, in your opinion? Enough to allow for competitive, physical basketball while also protecting its players? What impact do you believe this entire situation will have on Caitlin Clark, Alyssa Thomas, and the league in the future? I genuinely want to know what basketball fans around the world think, so please share your thoughts in the comments section below. This community is great because of respectful debate, and if you like this analysis, your viewpoint might be included in a future movie. Make sure to click the subscribe button, enable notifications, and never forget to upload again if you want more in-depth basketball analysis, exclusive updates, and the biggest stories about the WNBA, NBA legends, and Caitlin Clark. Every night, basketball history is being written. Thank you for watching and for your amazing support. You'll learn about the next chapter right here, and it may be even more significant than this one. Please share your thoughts in the comments section. Subscribe and enable all notifications to make sure you don't miss anything. We'll see you after you click the video on the next one. Display.